The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Oh, what's up, Kitty Up? Welcome to Friday Breakdowns. This is a Failure to Stop podcast, the #1 show where police meet society and culture. If you want to support the show, head over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Give us a 5-star rating and review. Also, if you want to go that extra mile, being a paid subscriber to our YouTube channel helps us with production costs, helps us with paying this wonderful producer that we have, and the big giant staff that we have that runs 4 shows a week that all are first responder related, but are different. Tuesday nights is Night Shift with all the mayhem and murder one could like with the beautiful and audacious Andrea up late every Thursday, giving you all the other news you need. Oh, that's myself and Dead Leg Media, so that you don't sound like an asshole to your civilian friends over the weekend. Then we have Com Center with Drew Breasy Thursday night, Jonathan Bates. Those guys are rocking with all the dispatcher stuff, breaking down the craziest and most outrageous 911 calls, and also fielding some 911 calls from you guys. And then, of course, our Friday flagship show, our breakdowns, which today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Sleep so good it's scary. Valentine's Day is right around the corner. Get her a bed. Get him a bed. Get him a ghost bed pillow. I see a couple of you guys have gotten the pillow since I got the pillow. Talked about it a little bit. Now everybody's getting the pillow. Try not to be like me. Be a little bit more like Drew. Or a little bit more like Elijah, where you get the whole fucking kit and caboodle. But, you know, if you can't afford the whole kit and caboodle, get the ghost bed pillow, get the cooling sheets. Use that promo code Wolfpack, get you 35% off. Also, today's show is brought to you by Rip Pack. Baby, keep that breath fresh. Keep those teeth clean with no water and no toothbrush. You just pour the powder into your mouth, let it explode in there like Pop Rock, swish it around, cleans those yellow teeth, keeps you fresh while you're on the beat, while you're in the meat wagon or the fire engine. But we love Rip Pack, and they've got a special right now. If you use the promo code Wolfpack, you get a discount, but you also get a custom little Wolfpack only package. There's 900 of these bad boys left, but for like $10, you get like 14 packets, something like that. So another great Valentine's Day gift idea for that first responder in your life. Drew Breasy, Easy Drew Breasy, my co-host, my partner, my lover, my Valentine's. Do we have any news before we jump in today's topic of discussion?
Well, we have news. If you've been living, unless you've been living under a rock, hopefully you understand or know about this story, but there was an off-duty NYPD officer that died 3 days after being shot by a career criminal during a botched robbery. The officer's name, God rest his soul, is Adid Fayez. Fayez and his brother-in-law were targeted for an armed robbery. They were carrying a large amount of cash, and they were in the process of meeting someone to purchase a car. He was shot in the head while trying to buy the car, and he's come to his injuries on Tuesday. Unfortunately, he was a 5-year NYPD veteran. He was gunned down Saturday night when a man lured him into a dark driveway after arranging to meet to sell a car through Facebook Marketplace. The suspect has been identified. It's 38-year-old Randy Jones. He was found hiding in a hotel in upstate New York. And Monday, after the botched robbery turned into a homicide, is when they located him. He was subsequently taken into custody, and as tradition would have it, was restrained with Fayez's handcuffs. So we're talking about $24,000 in cash for a Honda Pilot. Just a very sad story. I mean, by all accounts, a good officer, probably a great family man, and these are the dangers for like you cops, especially to tell your family members if you're going to meet somebody for a marketplace kind of meeting, you can do it in a precinct or sheriff's office or whatever parking lot to make it a little bit safer. I'm definitely not second guessing what happened here. Apparently the brother-in-law in this case was able to get his gun and return fire on the suspect, which is somewhat heroic, but just a sad story out of New York. I mean, we definitely don't like to see the the good guys go down in a robbery. I mean, he wasn't. We don't like to see the good guys go down anyway. But this
right today we're going to talk about the good guys going down. Also, not in a blaze of glory, but in a blaze of blue on blue. Saratoga, that's in New York, right?
It sure is. It's enough.
You've got a lot of crazy stuff happen, man. There was a woman in New York this week who was removed from the funeral home. I mean, from the hospice care center and sent to the funeral home to the crematorium, only to find out she was still alive.
Wow.
So we know that New York has a history of not giving a shit about old people and retirement homes, but
right.
A lot of bad stuff happening in New York lately. And it just seems like there's a lot of news coming out of New York. No wonder my town is flooded with New Yorkers.
I think everybody's town is flooded with New Yorkers.
Yeah, nobody wants to be in New York. That's crazy. It's Tactical Cool Dude's birthday. I will sing him happy birthday, but I'll do it at the end of the show because we have a lot to get through today. Today's show, the topic of discussion is Harry Denman, the muzzle stamp seen around the world. We're also going to cover a blue on blue deadly force. Luckily, the officer didn't die in this blue on blue. But definitely something that we should talk about and needs to be talked about while it's still relevant. So we kind of got a twofer for you today. But first, I want to jump into the muzzle stamp heard around the world. This case is important to me, only mainly because the first time I heard about it was the weekend of Thanksgiving, where a family member of mine really, you got to remember our Thanksgiving gatherings. If you didn't follow our show before, my Thanksgiving is there's 32 of us, and we all get together every Thanksgiving, all 32, at a massive table at a big giant lake house. It's really beautiful and it's awesome. Everybody kind of pitches in and makes it just really great. We hire a photographer to get family photos, so everybody gets the Christmas family photos. It's a big to do. But when you have 32 people that you love, it's inevitable that something is going to spark, right? Like some kind of political debate or something, you know. So in this case, it was law enforcement related, and it was this case. And that particular gentleman that I had the discussion with is an awesome guy. I love him. He's a relative family member. But he says, I can't see in any way, shape, or form in any world where whatever the suspect did, where he gives up, places his hands behind his back, that he should be booted in the face by police. And I saw the tape at the time, and I says, hey, I'd love to see the rest of the tape before I make my decision. Now, people get so offended by this. I say it with every case, though, whether the cops are right or wrong. I say it for every case. I don't want to see your 10-second video. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see the 10-second video of the suspect being an asshole for 10 seconds. I don't want to see the 10-second video of the cop being an asshole for 10 seconds. I want to see the totality of the thing, because perception is never reality.
Right.
Not reality. Perception is what you perceive is not always reality. Sometimes it's reality. I guess I shouldn't say never reality, but you can't look at perception as reality. You have to look at it as that's the perception. And then we look at the totality of circumstances. We make an educated guess. Same with COVID, same with the vaccine, same with everything. Don't make a definite, the COVID vaccine is safe. You don't know that. You don't know that it's not safe. Don't say that either. You got to wait these things out, folks. And in this case, I waited it out, and lo and behold, Drew, I may have been right. I don't know. I wanted to show you this. I wanted to share it to you. Now I'm going to show you the 10-second clip that this man was referred to. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this. This is the 10-second clip that the whole world on Twitter and blew up. Now, there wasn't any riots because this is a white guy. These are officers of color versus a white guy, so nobody really cares about that. So we don't have to worry about the burning or anything like that. But there was a lot of outrage on Twitter, a lot of, and you know, it's sad. It's a lot of veterans. You know, veterans and other cops, actually. And other cops, there's no excuse for this. It makes us all look bad. No, what makes us look bad is when you guys jump to conclusions like you do. Like you do with Uvalde, like you do with any of these fucking cases. Just everybody needs to knock that off. So here we go. Here's the 10-second clip that was seen around the world. And a lot of people have some things to say about it. We'll see what you guys have to say. Go ahead and get ready to blow up these comments in the chats, because I know you guys are going to have a lot to say. Here we go.
Ground. Go. Move. Where's the gun?
Rewind it just a little bit. Here we go. Warning, graphic video. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ground. Go.
Oh. Oh.
Where's the gun at? Let me see your Where's the gun?
Oh, a little muzzle shocked right to the face. So for those of you who are just listening and not watching, you hear a grown-ass man He was making the sounds of somebody who's literally just been knocked the fuck out. He's on his knees. His hands are behind his back. The cop runs in, football punts him in the face. That knocks him out. He then, the other officer who was with him, who happens to be a rookie, goes and stomps a dude's head on the way down, bounces off this beautiful tile floor, making him make all these noises as a knocked out human being would make. I've heard these at the skate park 1,000 times. People get knocked out. You're out. You're out cold, man. You make some noises sometimes. Then the guy lifts his head back up. The other officer takes the muzzle of his rifle and strokes him in the face with it. Just gives him a good spear, a good Spartan spear jab right to the cheek that cuts him open. It's going to make a little bit of blood ooze out of the face there. And the training officer doing exactly what the rookie doing exactly what his training officer does, goes ahead and tags him in the back of the head with his thing. And then they subsequently get this guy into handcuffs. Let's let it play out.
What's your problem? Hey, can you shut it down? You know where he was at? I don't know where he threw it at. It's right here.
Oh, yes. So he is handcuffed. He is handcuffed, laying on the ground. They say, "Where is the gun?" And the dude does make an affirmative movement with his shoulder. Now, his hands are cuffed. The cop gives a good old what was the player for the Giants that punted that ball? Matt Dodge.
I don't know.
Gives him a good Matt Dodge punt right to the face. Blood goes everywhere. He's handcuffed. And now he is he is vomiting.
Was it to the face?
He has just been.
Was it to the face or was it like the side of his?
Let's replay it real quick. We'll replay it one more time, but I'm pretty sure that's the face.
Hey, can you shut it down? You know where he was at?
Shut it down. Where's the gun?
It's right here.
Oh. Okay, so yeah, it's not a kick to the face. It looked like the face because it cuts the video off. But yeah, it was to the back. It was to his back. Me.
Yeah.
Me. Okay, looks really bad, right?
It looks bad, but just like you said from the beginning, there's a whole story here. It's not.
There's a whole story here, man. It's crazy that we say that. And that's why I always say it, because 9 times out of 10, there's much more to the story. Thought there was going to be much more to the story, to the Memphis beatdown, and kind of find out there is more to that story. These guys may be gang members. 2 of them, 2 out of the 5 might be gang members. There's a lot more unraveling about that case. There's also some stuff that we've heard from a source that says he got it from the FBI, and another source in a different state that said that they also heard this from the FBI, which means to me it's a rumor, because like what FBI agent's talking to somebody in Florida and in somebody in Arizona, I don't know. But the rumor mill's going around about that case. I'm not even going to say the rumor because it's just that, it's a rumor. But in the end, there will be something more that comes out of the story. I have a feeling that it'll make the cops look even worse. But we'll see. But in this case, what we have here is
the former cops, not the cops. It's not going to make all cops look worse. It's going to make those former cops look worse.
Those former cops look bad. Yeah, I don't think there's any hope for those dudes. But this right here, let's see what the people in the chats are saying, because this is a live show. And then we don't normally do is we usually wait till the end to acknowledge the chats, but I think I'd like to see what everybody has to say about it. It's all good. Oh, let's see here. The gun is right on the table behind the cop. Kicked him in the shoulder. He shot at the cop. Okay, so you guys already know a lot of this story. Somebody in the chat says it's fucking Hollywood. Windows controlling someone who fights ever look pretty. That's true. They knew he had a gun and probably thought he was trying to roll over and position himself to grab it. So really not as much. I guess more people know the story than I thought. M says, I'd like to know how this all started. Very good. You know, when you look at the Twitter for this and you look at the headlines for this, and you know how the news will play a story and then they'll have comments below. None of the comments are good. I'm surprised that in our chats, which is normally a lot of opinionated folks, I thought we'd have more debate here, but I guess you guys already know the whole story. Unfortunately, it's all perception. Actual facts don't matter. But when I was reading the Twitter file, I literally saw a police officer say, this would never fly in his department. This would never go down. No, we should ever treat somebody like this. But let's play the whole video now.
Phoenix police released some edited video today of an intense arrest, which has 2 officers now on leave.
Yeah, the police report says the 2 officers had been fighting with 38-year-old.
That has these officers on leave.
Well,
not on paid leave as an investigation is carried out, but it has them on leave.
I think I found it curious too. The first thing he said is police have released an edited video.
Yes, that's there it is too, right? A lot of manipulation going on in the words of the media, and not surprising, right? Like we all know that mainstream media is 98% bullshit. And here's more evidence and proof of that. Now, what's funny about this is that in this particular news one, when you read the comments, it's good, those guys should be arrested and blah blah blah, and good, they should be on administrative leave, they should be in handcuffs and in prison. Had this news reporter just said that they're on paid leave,
Right.
I hope all these
Harry
people are.
Denman last month after Denman shot at their patrol car outside a Phoenix gas station. Elliot Polikoff is live in the newsroom with what happened as these officers took Denman into custody. Elliot.
Jamie and Jared, we had previously seen cell phone video of this incident that took place at a quick trip near 59th Avenue and Buckeye Road in Phoenix. That showed both officers head stomping Denman and hitting him with their guns. Now we have video of what led up to these actions, as well as body camera footage of what the officers were doing. The new video released by Phoenix Police shows the 2 officers walking out of the quick trip to their patrol car when they're approached by Denman. Denman pulls out a handgun and starts shooting at the patrol car as it pulls away, striking the car's spotlight and frame before he heads inside the quick trip, gun in hand. The officers then return into the store to confront Denman, who puts his hands in the air and drops to his knees.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Don't move. Where's the gun at?
You can hear Denman groaning as one officer holds his gun over the 38-year-old.
I will blow your head off, dude.
Denman then responds to the officers while on the ground.
I don't have no problem with you guys. Shoot at us.
The man received injuries during the arrest and was taken to a local hospital before being booked into jail. Both officers were uninjured.
Both officers were assigned to the South Mountain Precinct. One has been with the department for 6 years, the other for less than a year. Now, Phoenix police are conducting both an administrative and criminal investigation into the officers' actions, which will be turned over to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office for review.
Conclusions about whether the actions of the officers are consistent with the department policy and the law will not be made until all facts are known and the investigation is complete.
Now, the Phoenix Law Enforcement Association did release a statement this evening in response to the released video, saying upon contact, the officers believed Denman was still armed and dangerous, and that they took swift and decisive action to prevent him from hurting them or any of the customers inside of the quick trip. But Phoenix Police Chief Michael Sullivan, he has said he is not happy about the officers' actions. He says that what is depicted in that video, not how we train, and is not aligned with the core values of the Phoenix Police Department.
And here we go. So even, was that, you said that was the chief?
Yeah.
So, this is Drew, listen, I say it every time, dude, and I know you're going to hate it, but these chiefs are just voices of the city manager. They're just talking heads, my friend, because they say what they have to say. They say what they have to say. It is absurd to think that these officers in that 10-second video, if I'm the police chief, I'm not saying a word. I'm not saying anything. You can burn my city down. I don't care. I'm not saying anything because I don't know. I'm not going to say what I don't know. That's not how police conduct themselves. That's not how we conduct ourselves. If we go to your house and you're covered in blood and there's a knife in your wife's or fiance's chest and you're covered in blood, I don't get to just arrest you for murder because the perception is you murdered your wife. We don't know the totality. We don't know the story. We don't know if you try to give her CPR because you found her that way. No, we take you, we detain you, and we try to start putting bricks in the old detective wall. When we don't have any bricks to put in that wall, we release you until we get bricks to put in the wall. There is a way that the justice system is supposed to play out. And when we just perceive that somebody is guilty and we make statements like that, we are retarding the justice system. We're retarding what the whole system is supposed to be for. Okay. Which is preventing witch hunts.
No. Listen, I'm totally with you. We differ slightly in this, and I'm not defending what this chief said. I'm not a fan of what this chief said. I will defend being a chief is probably not that easy, as in, let me just not address this at all. Because I think a better way to go about this would be for the chief to say something like, well, in the moment when when you're trying to apprehend an armed and dangerous individual who just essentially took a shot at you with an active firearm, the adrenaline is going to get to you. And we secured the individual the way we needed to secure him, and he is in jail because of that. And thankfully, our officers are safe and alive, and the prisoner is safe and alive. So let's all let's look at it that way. That's not what he said, though. I don't think that he's just a voice, though, for the city manager. I think he is a voice for the department in the sense that he knows that he's going to have to sacrifice either community legitimacy or officer satisfaction. And he knows he's got to play this balance somewhere in the middle where he's like, look, I've got to eat something here. I got to say something. I can't not say anything.
Do you think he could watch the whole video?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then make a statement? Because if you watch the whole video and then you make a statement, you could say, combat is never pretty. And what we saw here was somebody trying to take 2 of my officers' lives.
Yeah.
In a random act of terror.
Right.
And he was subdued. Now, we will go back and look at how he was subdued and if we could do better in the future. But as of right now, our hearts are with the officers who were attempted to be murdered.
Yeah.
And who also brought a suspect into custody without taking his own life, even though deadly force may or may not have been appropriate at this time. But we are looking into this as a department, and we'll have more to follow up in a few weeks.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think there may have been a better way to go about this, as in, you're looking at it doesn't, of course it doesn't look good. It's never going to look good, but in the totality of circumstances, this was a potentially deadly force situation, and the officers did not employ deadly force. They chose not to, and they secured him the way that they should have secured him. But I think, just like getting back to what we were saying a second ago, I differ with their mouthpieces for the city manager, because I think they operate on their own autonomy sometimes, and they just say bad things. They say things like that they know they're gonna give up capital within their own department in the form of morale, which right now is a very trying time. Like, people are bailing on police departments because your own chief bailed on you before you were even cleared.
By the way, these officers, as of this week, have been completely cleared from the shooting.
Yeah, cleared. Have they been administratively? I know they've been. You mentioned they've been legally cleared. The DA said no criminal charges. And what was the justification of no criminal charges? You said it. You told me earlier. What was the?
Because of what they used were defensive techniques that were not aimed to inflict permanent damage. That all the force that they used was distracting force. The lawyer, I'm a C student at best, so I can't speak like a lawyer speaks. But essentially what he was saying is that they could have used a lot more force, and they didn't. And the force that they did use was actually minimal. Hindsight.
This is right. But this is exactly what I've said this a few times on this show. This is an instance where just because you can use deadly force doesn't mean you should. In this instance, I mean, it kind of panned out. Like, they secured the suspect and they went home at the end of the shift, and we know that that's the goal. But it's it's a very fine line to walk, because this doesn't look good when the guy is handcuffed, and I can tell you that kick, though, that the FTO gave, he's got a full-on rifle, which should be addressed in by the chief, like, as in, yeah, well, you guys are seeing a kick. I'm seeing an officer trying to control a subject and teach his recruit, but at the same time, he doesn't have any hands free, and he delivered a swift kick to the guy's back. And if you look at the kick, it is it's precise. It's not a Garo Upremian or whatever punter you used. It's not like that. He used a swift defensive tactics, brief but definite period of time kind of kick to control the subject. And guess what? It worked. And this is the ultimate goal of any defensive, use of force. It's to gain control. And I know, there may be some questions about me being the chief. I would say, I know there may be some questions about the fact that he was handcuffed, and we're going to address those. But in the totality, the officers acted how they thought they needed to act at the time, and thankfully they weren't killed. Simple.
Yeah. So Tactical Dude says, I think an officer involved shooting in this case would have been less controversial. That is why we're going to bring up this next video here in the later part of the show to kind of show you that deadly force, sometimes is prettier. Now, one of the things I'd like to mention is that for the listeners that are hearing this and not seeing it, those rounds, the first round, by the way, this is a training officer and his rookie. And I want to address that. A rookie is taught and almost, I don't want to use the word manipulated, but brainwashed, another bad term, into mimicking and following. We watch movies, right? How often do you see, hey, rookie, you stay on my hip. Whatever I do, you do. You understand? If you want to live. I mean, the movie Fury. Hey, if you want to stay alive in this tank, you do exactly what I say. When I say to do it, I want you on me like white on rice. We see it in all those movies because that's real. That's how a training officer says, like, my responsibility is you for 9 weeks. If you want to live out here on the mean streets and you want to run and gun with me, you better stay up on my hip and do exactly what I do and when I do it, which is why I have a problem with a lot of rookies getting hemmed up in the Derek Chauvin thing, because
I do too.
You are told to literally be a zombie and in focus. And that's why you're on training for 18 weeks, because then your brain starts to form its own opinions and the way you want to do things. And you start taking note. And by the 18 weeks, you're like, all right, when I'm off training, I'm going to not do it that way. I want to do it this way, vice versa. But in those first 9 weeks, bro, I couldn't even tell you the street names or the names of the people I arrested in my first 9 weeks. I had no idea where I was at or what I was doing, or maybe what I even arrested them for, because you are literally taking a fire hose of knowledge to the face. You're like a little boy that's trying to drink out of a water hose that somebody has kinked and then open the kink and just blast you in the face. So what you see in this video is exactly that, which what I spoke on for the Chauvin case. Is you have a rookie that's literally mimicking every move. He kicks, I kick. It's like, when I dip, you dip, we dip. I put my hand, when I muzzle break your face, I muzzle break your face. That's another rap by Susan B. Empathy.
Susan B. Empathy, I believe, yeah.
So anyway, when he strikes him in the back of the head with a muzzle, with his muzzle, the rookie does the same thing, and that's because it's monkey see, monkey do at this point.
That's
it's
exactly
not racist, because these are both pretty much Caucasian men, so we can say.
But that's exactly what I said to you when we talked about this. I said it's monkey see, monkey do, and what was your response immediately? Do you remember?
No, probably duh.
No, you said no. That's one's an FTO and the other's a trainee, and the light bulb went off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well that makes complete sense. I mean, it doesn't to anybody else that's ever done this job. And I wouldn't expect it to. I had this Uvalde debate way long ago with this housewife, basically, and zero life experience other than being somebody's, wife. And she was browbeating me and telling me how I was wrong about what these officers did. And I was trying to tell her, I'm basing my information on 29 years of experience, and I'm basing it on having responded to active shooter-like scenarios, not like in a school. I'm also basing it on my administrative knowledge. I'm listing all this stuff, and then of course that turns into, all you're doing is throwing your resume in my face and you're showing off. Well, no, I happen to know the job. And I also happen to know that unless you have walked a mile in those moccasins, you're not going to be able to judge anybody.
Yeah, I'm not telling you how to do the dishes.
I am not telling you what sandwich to make. So
I'm not telling you that you're putting too much jelly on that man's peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You have totally corrupted me, Susan B. Empathy. But I'm just saying, That is the reality. And okay, so maybe it's not applauded. Maybe that FTO pulls the rookie aside later and says, "Look, dude, I appreciate what you did here. We got the guy in custody. Tell me what you think of this, or tell me what you saw." And then he goes into, look, just because I do something doesn't mean you have to do something. So,
but you said to do exactly what I do and to stay on my hip at all times.
I know
I said that. I know I said that.
But this is a completely contradictory career field, kid. Just get used to it.
Get used to it. But there's also this for those, and this is what I was going to say before we went on this tangent. For those of you who are just listening and didn't see it, the first round strikes the light,
spotlight.
Field light, the spotlight, which is right next to your face.
Yeah.
So had the light not been there, the officer would have taken that round probably to either the throat or the face, or at least the collarbone just above the vest. The second shot that this man fired for no reason hit the A-frame about head level of the officer. So had the A-frame not have been there, the officer would have taken it in the face. We're talking, guys, we're talking about 3 inches between life and death. Life is a game of inches. This officer survived both gunshots with less than 3 inches to spare. Now, if you had 3 inches to save your life, you're not going to hit that on the range.
No.
If that last shot for you to pass that stress wall is 3 inches, you're probably going to miss. But this suspect, luckily, I don't know how it happened. His shot group is very tight. And he just missed. And when you get out of your car and you see a bullet hole like that, you can't not see it. And you know that you've done nothing. You went to the QT, right? Get that free coffee. For us, it was free coffee and a free donut. One a night. One free donut a night and as many free coffees as you wanted. So hitting the QT, I mean, that's every cop. If you got a QT on your beat, that's where you go. That's where you go to take a piss. They got the cleanest bathrooms.
They're open 24/7.
They're open 24/7. And they love to see you because they don't want to get robbed.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, whew, cops here. So not going to get robbed again tonight. That's great. And they have the best hot dogs too, by the way.
Oh my God, Eric.
They're good for you. High in sodium, which is good for your heart. So you get you're going in there for your coffee and for your donut, and you're a rookie and you're a training officer, and the night's going pretty good. And they received a call while they were in the QT. So they go out to their car and this bizarro man comes out and says something to them. They wave to him like a friendly wave, make a gesture. I'm guessing that gesture is that we have a call, we have to leave. And as they go to back out, homeboy pulls out a gun and takes 2 shots at their patrol vehicle and runs back into the QT. Now, I have 4 children, 1 on the way, 5 children. When I had my first child, Duke, and I got in my first use of force where somebody tried to kill me, and we've talked about it on the show before, there was an anger, there was a rage inside of me that didn't develop until after the fight was over. And I wanted to go back and hunt this guy down. And when he got out of prison, I wanted to make sure that he never thinks it's okay to try to kill me again, ever. Like, how dare you? It's this, how dare you? There are people dying from climate change. How dare, I know how Greta feels. These cops felt just like Greta Thunberg. So I have some Susan B. empathy for these guys.
Pretty much.
So when that, I know that training officer, it was offensive to him. He was like, you fucking tried to kill my rookie. You motherfucker. And he says it. You tried to kill me, motherfucker.
Yeah. You broke my spotlight. But no. Do
you know how long it takes to get your spotlight fixed? Even when the bulb burns out?
Plus, let's not talk about the capital of an FTO car. Like, if you've got a nice FTO SUV, you're not getting anything. Once that shit's out for body repair, it's gone for months. You're in some bullshit.
Crown Vic. You're going back to the old Vicky.
Volkswagen Beetle. Yeah. So, but on a serious note, you're 1,000% right. That the first bullet hits the spotlight, then the second bullet hits the A pillar. Guess where the third bullet would have gone if you go in that diagonal trajectory? The third bullet was destined for either his vest or his face. I mean, that's right. Thank God it wasn't fired. Now let's also break down what use of deadly force is. It's the threat of death or the imminent threat of death or great bodily harm to yourself or to someone else. If this were, let's just say, and I know it wasn't, if this were noon and he fired 2 rounds at these officers and ran into a bank, does he not have a bank full of hostages at that point? So do you not have a duty and obligation to take care of this threat here? Like what other reason would you have to shoot 2 police officers, then run into a business other than to shoot other people? So, I mean, they bravely threw the car and parked, got out of the car and ran inside. You're damn right their adrenaline is flowing through their veins. And luckily, it turned out the way it did without them having to kill anybody, without that guy killing anybody else, and securing him the way they did. And if there's none of the kicks or muzzle or whatever you want to call it looked extracurricular. It looked like it was part of the moment. I'm not saying that it was justified. I'm not saying that it was the greatest tactic in the world, but it didn't look like it was done out of vengeance. It looked like it was done out of control, or they were on autopilot, which is the first thing we teach every officer. Build that muscle memory. It's going to take over for you when the adrenaline kicks in. And that's what
somebody in the chat says that they would have shot through the window. No, you wouldn't have. You would have done exactly what those cops did, and that's dive behind that radio. They were probably making out. They were so close. They both went like this. They both sank into that center compartment, fighting over that laptop. Probably snapped the laptop, because even if somebody's shooting at you at Cimarron's, first thing you do is dive behind that engine block. They were already in reverse. I don't know that, like, I don't know that shooting back. I guarantee you by the time that they popped their head back up, that dude was already back inside. So, plus you don't want to go shooting through your windshield into a gas station. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you know there's nobody in there, maybe you go for it. But, and then somebody says it was suicide by cop. I don't care about suicide by cop. I don't even want to hear that term ever. I don't let my rookies talk about suicide by cop, because I don't want them to have too much Susan B. empathy. I don't give a shit. Suicide by cop is murder. Suicide is still murder. If you murder your girlfriend and then kill yourself, you're still a murderer. Just because it's suicide doesn't give you some kind of, like, it's like you're trying to guilt trip us out of doing it. Like, and I hate it because it's going to get cops killed, and it will get cops killed. So it's murder. It's suicide by murder, not suicide by cop. It's suicide by murder. You're trying to murder me to kill yourself. And I don't like that shit at all. And I don't like it when cops have empathy for people who point guns at them. My department did it several times, where a man came out and just was like, shoot me, shoot me. That is a gamble I'm not willing to take. Okay, I'll fucking shoot you. If that's the way you want to go, I'm going to shoot you, because we're taking that gamble way too many times and it doesn't play out. That's why I have full on support for Officer, is it Darby?
Well, but Darby was the mental health guy that he went into the house, and then Schur is the guy that from, I think, Michigan, that was wrestling with the guy on the lawn and shot him in the back.
Yeah, Darby's the one that shot the dude with the shotgun, right?
Yeah, I think so. It was
so like I was all for what he did. Suicide by cop, I hate that. I don't give a shit if he's suicide by cop. He fucking tried to murder a cop, and there's no way he didn't, because he didn't aim for that A-frame and he didn't aim for that light. He aimed for that cop that he was just talking to in a parking lot, that was just trying to get coffee and a fucking donut.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine the rage that I would feel inside that I didn't lay that dude down, because that dude tried to kill me and I let him live. And that would suck to have to live with the rest of your life. I'd rather have gone in there and shot that dude 10 times and let that be over. They didn't, though, because it's a different time that we've grown up in. I have no problem with them kicking this guy in the face. I have no problem with the muzzle strap. One of the cops I said in the chats, not in our chats, but in the chats of the news, is that was a muzzle punch. We are not trained to do that in the police department. Okay, well, we're not trained to do a lot of things that we do.
We're not trained to get shot at either, but it happens.
there are things that you're going to do that you weren't trained to do. I wasn't trained to run into a burning building. I mean, I've never done this. I actually watched one of my comrades do it. I was like, good luck. I'm not doing that. He wasn't trained, or she wasn't trained to run into a burning building, but she did it.
Yeah.
And she got a life-saving award for doing it. We do things that we're not trained to do all the time. I guarantee you that if you're fighting the fucking jiu-jitsu champion of the world for your life, for your children's lives, you're going to pull out a whole bunch of moves that you didn't know were possible. Gouging that dude's eyes with your thumbs. We didn't teach you to do that. So I don't have a problem with muzzle punching this dude at all. Muzzle punching's a little bit of a fine line, because somebody can grab that muzzle. Then you're in a real debacle. But striking somebody in the back of the head with your gun like that, I don't see too much of a problem with it. It's a, target of opportunity.
I think the public is they're probably horrified by what they saw, but of course they're not going to take into account the front part of the video, one. And two, I just want to simply look into I want to walk into that newsroom, because both those dudes had green ties on.
I was about to say that, but I was like, I'm going to keep it serious.
Maybe it was
blue suits and green ties.
Maybe
this was in October. Like, this is like October 30th. So not St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was a costume of some sort, but I just want to look at them dead in the eye and say, what would you do? What exactly would you do? What would your reaction be? I mean, really, what would you do? Like, are you telling me that you would just say, sir, can you please get on the ground? And if you don't, I would prefer you don't go for that weapon in your waistband that you just tried to kill me with. Like, give me a fucking break. This is the real world, right? And this is exactly what happens. I mean, you get shot at, and you're going to tune a dude up, and we're not canonizing anybody for it. We're not making them heroes. We're not like, man, let's celebrate the fact that he kicked him in the skull, and it's not happening that way.
All I see is he did something that he had to do. He did
what he had to do. I agree with, or he did what his body told him to do, given a very stressful moment.
His brain's like, kick that bitch. He's like, all right, I got it. Bam. He's like, hit that bitch in the back of the head with your muzzle. Got it, bro. Wow. Like
I don't think, they weren't fighting to be the first through the door just to get a couple cheap shots in. I don't think that was the case at all.
No, I didn't see any cheap shots at all. Like, I mean, I just saw honestly, the training officer, not the trainee, but the officer that trains the trainee, like that kick to the back right there. That was like, I could see his brain wanting to do so much more to that guy. Right. And him not doing it. Like I could see him like, oh, I wish I could just keep doing that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then the gun was on the counter. I like, this is like the definition of fuck around and find out. Like, again, murder by cop, if that's what you want to do. If you take 2 shots at a cop, dude, I mean, your options are bleed out slowly because you got shot in the chest multiple times, or suffer a concussion and vomit all over the floor because you just got knocked the fuck out like 3 times in a row.
You're welcome.
Cops. Like, who cares?
I saved your life. You're welcome. And now the only other question I have on that case, Eric, is who was that? The surveillance video from the QT, or was that the clerk taking video?
Surveillance from the one was the body camera footage.
Okay.
And then the other one was the footage from the.
I mean, yeah, because you also want to point out to America, the clerk's alive too. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for my service. Let's make that 2 free donuts every night. So we're gonna go through one more. We have about 15 minutes left on this show, and it's a good hot 15 minutes. So I don't want to downplay this 15 minutes at all. But today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Ghostbed's been a loyal sponsor since the beginning. They're now on for season 3, baby. Coming at you with 35% off. Our favorite thing about Ghostbed is that they're made in the good old USA. We love them, absolutely love them. They got those cooling sheets, that cooling technology, so it feels like you're on the cool side of the bed all the time. You stay hard while staying cool, baby. Stay hard while staying cool. They got the adjustable base, 0% down, 0% financing. That's if you've got QT credit. And we just, dude, this is one of those companies that literally supports law enforcement. Mental health starts with a good night's sleep. Do it on a ghost bed. Use that promo code Wolfpack. Valentine's Day is right around the corner. Flowers die in a matter of weeks. That ghost bed pillow lasts you about solid 2 years. If you're me, it'll last you a lifetime. So get you one of them. Get you a ghost bed. Get you a ghost bed pillow.
If you play your cards right, Valentine's Day ends on a ghost bed.
Yeah, dude. Why? I saw a meme today. Why take your girl to a $400 a night hotel on Valentine's Day just to do the same 2 positions for the same 2 minutes that you do in your bedroom? Yeah, take that $400, put it down on a ghost bed. The love will just keep going. You can have that same 2-minute experience over and over again without having to pay $400 a night over and over again. You'll drop $1,200 on Valentine's Day. Easy. Or you can just stay inside, drop $1,200 on a new bed.
Yeah.
Light some candles for another additional 99 cents and make your 5th child.
And then the next 10, you're covered for the next 10 Valentine's Days, basically.
Basically. All right, let's go through this other footage real quickly. This is in Denmark.
No, it's not in Denmark. It's Susan B. Empathy. Saratoga Springs. I hope I'm saying that. Yeah, it's Saratoga Springs. Now, I'm from Western New York, so this is probably about 4 hours away, maybe 5 hours away from where I was born and raised.
Which is 45 minutes from Denmark.
This is kind of close to the Vermont border. The officer involved. So let me set this up real quick. Broadway, first of all, the bars don't close in New York State until 4 a.m. They now close at 2 a.m. in Saratoga because of this incident. So from what I understand, they petitioned the liquor board to get them to close earlier. Broadway is a very popular area in Saratoga. And, there's a club down there somewhere. And they went to, there was a group of officers around the corner. In fact, you'll see them running in a second here. There was a group of officers around the corner and they heard commotion and they heard shooting. They came around the corner and they saw a guy waving a gun and they ordered him to drop the gun several times and he didn't comply. So they shot him. And once they secured him, they came to find out he was an off-duty officer from another jurisdiction, from another state, actually, from Vermont, which is close by. I think he might have even lived in Saratoga. I'm not second guessing this officer because there's a lot of facts that are out there. This off-duty officer, I have a couple of questions. I'm not second guessing any of the Saratoga Springs officers. They rounded the corner and they saw a guy with a gun. That's all they knew. But I want to play the whole thing through. Then we can break it down from there, unless you want me to stop.
No, and let's just say they didn't just see a guy with a gun and shoot him.
No. They
gave a lot of commands.
Yeah, they
so I don't want anybody before you don't watch this, don't hang up and be like, "Oh, the cop,"
No, they very clearly gave him several commands.
Ooh, that cop in front is so lucky he didn't get tagged.
Okay, 7 commands is what I heard. And drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, put the gun down, put the gun down. And you're right. This is the other thing that's a very important training issue. We talk about flagging all of the time, and this is a classic example. There's an officer that's about to leapfrog the officer giving commands. The officer giving commands is obviously frozen in sort of a tactical position or tactically advantaged position. There's this innocent in between the guy with the gun, and this other officer is about to leapfrog right in the line of fire, 1, and 2. He's about to step on a cardboard box, which could take his feet right from under him. I'm sure these aren't things that you're thinking about in the moment, but seven different times they told this guy to drop the gun.
Shoot her and get her to stop screaming.
This is okay. So this is what happened.
Shut the fuck up, bitch.
By the way, she was grazed in this, and
She was?
There is pending litigation. That's why not a whole lot of details are out about this whole thing. Okay, now
why was she just standing there though? Like they're like, get out of the way, get out, or drop the gun, drop the gun. She's just standing literally in the middle of the sidewalk, like.
Okay, she is the off-duty officer's girlfriend, and supposedly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One and two, he was either just shot or he just shot somebody else in an altercation. Apparently what happened is, and we'll see it here from the surveillance camera, there was some type of altercation before the Saratoga Springs police ran around.
Why is there an altercation at 3 a.m.
outside
of a bar?
Probably because the bars are winding down, and that's yeah, exactly. I mean, like this was my life as a shift commander. It's 3 o'clock. Let's head over to Waters in Manhattan because there's about to be a shooting. All right, here we go. No audio just yet, but you can see right here in this corner in front of the red car, for those who are listening, which makes no sense anyway, there is an altercation. You can see a guy in a brown coat who's now at the hood of the car. He moved his coat back to kind of show them that he had a gun. He has now retrieved that gun with his right hand, and he's running up the business area. You can see him walking by the cardboard box that the other officer, you know what I'm saying?
Gun down! Run the gun! Run the gun! Run the gun! Run the gun! Run the...
So you can even see it. I don't know if you can make it out or not, but his girlfriend actually pulls his arm. As the officers are approaching, his girlfriend pulls his arm. Like, you know, you better listen to them, or I don't know what she was saying, but pulls him to safety, essentially, into the doorway.
Run the gun! Run the gun! Run the gun!
God, she just go full like pig.
Shots fired, Broadway. What's your cross? Broadway and Caroline. Show your hands! Show your hands! Oh, you're not in view too! Hey! Throw it out like him! Throw it out like him! Do it! We have multiple at gunpoint. Where are gun? Collin County for assistance. Collin County for... Go to Market.
When units available to back up Saratoga Springs, Broadway at Caroline Street for shots fired, multiple subjects at gunpoint at this time.
412.
2G14.
4 and 72 from 146.
4177 current Greenfield area.
Okay, so there's let me just start by saying there's a reason I'm a Floridian. New York State's a little messed up. I'm not questioning any of these cops. I'm not questioning any of I'm not even questioning the off-duty officer, although I don't think that it's a good idea that if you know you're going to be in a bar somewhere, party until 3 a.m, that you have your gun on you. I don't know what each individual policy is for each individual department. I know ours specifically said, where I worked, was if you're in an establishment whose primary purpose is to serve alcohol, you will not have your firearm on you. That's just the chance you're going to have to take when you go out, but it's also going to protect you from not wanting to shoot a dude when there's an altercation that breaks out. I don't know if that's the case. I do know this though, that within 10 hours, the social media firestorm started, and everybody started with they certainly didn't start with, well, this was a cop, this was an off-duty cop. They started with, this was a minority that was shot by Saratoga Springs police, and they hadn't fired their guns in the previous
3 decades.
Yeah, 29 years. So the police commissioner, the mayor, the police commissioner, and then the police chief was at the press conference as well. They decided to do a press conference, and they released the body camera. They released whatever details they had to quell this bullshit that's going around, because it is a firestorm in 2023 when, or this was 2022, when a police shooting happens. Everybody wants transparency, and everybody screams about, that's why we gave you body cameras. But when you release the body cameras in this particular area, the DA gets furious and says, Now you're impeding in my investigation. And she actually went to the judge and had the judge issue a gag order for the police commissioner, for the mayor, and for the police chief to not talk about this case. So while she's looking at criminal charges for everyone involved, I don't know if she's looking at criminal charges for the police officers. She's probably looking at criminal charges for the off-duty officer, but he was also a victim in this. He was shot at, or he confronted a guy with a gun. We don't know what the circumstance is there, but she just went all out and said, no, you guys aren't going to talk about this anymore. And so this is, again, where we have the divide sometimes. What is a police commissioner or a police chief to do in a situation like this? Do you
do things like we used to do it? Like, I don't understand. Like, okay, you probably, or I used to say this years ago when we first started this show. There's a farmer, there's a sheepdog, and then there are the sheep. And I know where you think I'm going with this, but you don't. The farmer can't talk to the sheepdog. They don't speak the same language. He can guide them, he can give them guidance, he can train them in certain ways, but they can't physically talk to each other. And the sheepdog can't talk to the sheep. They don't speak the language. He can guide them. He can do some things here and there that the sheep will understand, but they can never actually communicate with each other. They don't speak the same language. So when a sheepdog bites a sheep in the back of the ankle, all the sheep knows is that the sheepdog's being an asshole, because the sheep goes to a farm and goes to bed at 8 o'clock every single night when the sun goes down and never ever sees what's in that wood line. They've never been outside of the fenced in or the perimeter that they've been guided in their whole life. They've never seen the evil that's inside those woods, but the sheepdog has. The sheepdog knows that there's coyotes in there. He knows that there's bears in there. He knows that there's wolves in there. And the farmer, he knows too, but the farmer's never even seen them though. He knows that they exist because he sees that a sheep dies from time to time. That's why he gets a sheepdog. Now, sometimes a sheepdog will disappear into those woods and he'll never come back. And maybe he finds them and maybe he doesn't. But a lot of times that sheepdog's going out into the woods to fight a threat and he gets surrounded by 3 or 4 coyotes and he loses. But he depletes the coyotes down enough that the other coyotes are like, we don't have strength in numbers anymore. And we don't know how many more sheepdog there are. So they fuck right off. And the farmer gets a new sheepdog and it's okay. But the farmer can never talk to the sheep, and the sheepdog, and the sheep can never speak to the sheepdog. So the sheepdog is just doing shit all day long that nobody understands and nobody will ever understands, and frankly doesn't really give a shit about. And that is exactly what the life of a cop is. The city mayor and the manager have no idea how to talk to a cop because they don't know what a cop goes through. And a civilian doesn't have a clue what a cop is doing. All he sees is that they get a ticket when they're speeding. They don't understand that somebody died on that road just the day prior and you had to go knock on a family member's door and explain that to them. They don't understand. They'll never understand that language. So therefore, we don't have to talk to them. We don't have to have that. We just have to accept the fact that they'll never fucking understand because we don't speak the same language. And prior to Ferguson, when police shootings were at an all-time low, mind you, nobody did this. There was no body camera footage released. There was none of this. We have to provide you with information right now. You'll wait just like everybody else will wait. You'll wait and trust the system just like everybody else has done. And why we're having all-time low in shootings. So, going from like 2002 and forward.
Right. But what you just said it yourself, what happened after Ferguson?
Everybody demanded, the civilians demanded that they wanted unjustly, without having the numbers to back it up, that they wanted some kind of transparency.
Right. We lost that war. We lost that information war.
We gave it up. We gave it up.
So now
we didn't lose it. We didn't even try to fight for it.
Yeah. So now we're in between a rock and a hard place where we have to appease by showing it. Like, it's almost kind of like saying, okay, you want to know what happened? Here you go. And our officers were standing around the corner. They heard gunshots, just like I tried to tell you. Our officers were standing around the corner. They heard gunshots. They came around the corner. They yelled 8 times for this guy to drop his gun. He didn't drop his gun, so they shot him. And that's it. He survived, by the way. That officer, that deputy, and by all accounts, he's a good deputy. I mean, from what I'm reading, and he was relieved of duty, or he was on some type of administrative leave for a while. I don't know if he's back to work or not. His attorney, he was shot in the chest near the heart. He made it. He survived that. His attorney is still to this day like clamoring for, hey, are we going to charge anybody in this? Because my client was shot at by some dude before he even pulled his gun out, which is definitely going to significantly bolster his claim that, listen, I'm an off-duty cop. When somebody's shooting, what do you want me to do? Right? I mean, I still think that there are some ethical issues about bringing your gun into a bar, especially if you're going to be drinking. I don't know if he was drinking or not. I don't know if that was even a factor. But, and again, I'm not going to Monday morning quarterback that guy. He got plugged, but he also didn't listen to the commands, just like we say 1,001 times, if you would just comply, he wouldn't be in this situation.
Even if you're in an active shooter situation, and I play this out in my brain all the time because I carry concealed all the time. I always have a gun on me.
Yeah.
But I also understand that if I shoot somebody, even if it's an active shooter, there's a good chance I'm going to take one for being an active shooter.
Yes.
Because it's very hard to tell who's who, especially with me. I got long, shaggy hair. I've got a very surfer-esque appearance to me. I definitely don't look like
a very feminine appearance. I agree.
But that's the risk you take when you carry a fucking sword. Like if you're a knight in medieval times and you've got a sword on you, well,
And there is also, Eric, think about this, the fog of war. When you're a police officer involved in a use of deadly force, you're not thinking I'm off duty involved in a use of deadly force and I'm standing outside of a bar and my backup is telling me to drop my gun. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he is that cognizant of what's going on, but there's also probably a point where he's thinking, fuck, I just shot. So I'm the good guys. How can these guys not know that I'm the good guys? And
you've got to know. Dude, when you're in plain clothes, I mean, you wear plain clothes. I wear plain clothes a lot of times. I mean, dude, I thought about it constantly. Okay, I'd war game it in my head. All right, if I'm over here running surveillance and somebody comes up behind me and puts a gun to my head, I'm going to comply with everything that they say, because if I came into my property and saw somebody just sitting here with binoculars, I'm not sure that I'm not pulling my gun at them and saying, don't move or I'll blow your fucking head off. Like, it's my property and you're on it illegally, whether I'm a cop or not. And that's just got to be something that you say is like, okay, I'm a police officer. I'm doing everything you say. My badge is like, you've got to war game this in your head that if you don't, I don't know. Point being is if a cop is telling you to do something, you do it, whether you're in the right, wrong, or you're indifferent about the whole thing. Cop says, put your hands on the steering wheel. Put your fucking hands on the steering wheel.
I don't know. I don't disagree with that one bit. I definitely, but what I'm saying is there's probably some type of auditory exclusion or tunnel vision if you've just fired your weapon, or if you know what I'm saying, where he's thinking, I'm at work right now. Why would these cops be telling me to drop my gun? And I'm not making excuses for the guy. I don't know that's exactly what happened, but I mean, I think that you probably need to reason that out.
I mean, that's why you war game, so that when you're in that situation, you've already thought that through in your head. Like, I already know that if somebody comes into church while I'm at church and they start actively shooting, I'm going to take that dude down and I'm going to put my gun down and I'm going to lay down on the floor just like everybody else. I'm not going to stand there and be like, hey, I'm the good guy that just shot that guy. Because when the fucking cavalry gets there,
they're going to be looking for the guy with the gun.
They're going to be looking for a guy with a gun. So, I'm going to lay that dude down. I'm going to put my gun within arm's reach of me, and I'm going to lay down, and I'm not going to move unless another threat comes into that room. And then I'm going to get back to work. But like, I'm going to lay down with my hands out, and I know I'm going to get kneed in the back of the head, and I know they're going to probably get muzzle struck or whatever, because they're going to think that I'm the fucking killer.
So to tie this up in a pretty little bow, to tie the two cases together, for anybody out there in internet land, if you're a field training officer, these are the kinds of things that you should be sitting in your downtime talking to your recruit about. Like, hey, what are you going to do if you're off duty one night at the Denny's and you haven't had anything to drink, but you're carrying your gun because the state mandates that you carry a gun and intervene in any felony, and a big fight breaks out? Susan B. Empathy is in town, and she and her entourage roll into the Denny's, and all of a sudden it's gunplay. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do when an officer rushes through the door and sees you holding your gun? These are the kinds of things that you should probably be talking to your recruit about.
Right. You got to war game that shit, dude. Like,
you do.
You got to war game it. But also, just because you have it, And just because you can do it
doesn't mean you should.
Doesn't mean you should. Sometimes it's better to be a good witness. You know, I've seen this. Actually, one of our officers got his ass whooped trying to break up a gang fight. Same thing. He was out drinking 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and a group of guys just started fighting, and he got in there to break it up, ends up taking a chair across the back of the head, splits a skull open, gets some staples and everything like that. And he said, well, I had a duty to act to stop the fight. No, you don't. No, you don't. You could have been a great witness.
Right.
You could have been like, dude, I was way outnumbered. There's no way I'm stopping that fight. And I don't have any of my duty belt. Nobody's going to fault you for that. Plus, it's 2 shitheads fighting each other. Who gives a fuck?
This is kind of the topic of the comm center last night, but and what I was trying to say, I don't know if I said it clear enough, but inaction most of the time will not get you sued. Action will get you sued.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the unfortunate world we live in. So watching gang members fight it out and then sitting there like Jonathan and pencil sketching each person so you know what they look like, that's not going to get you sued. Stepping in and doing something, and then if somebody breaks a wrist because you threw him against the pool table, well, now you're on the hook. You're going to get sued for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for that cop and his family, but I also, you know, man, it being that I'm in my 30s, I mean, almost in my 40s, you know, I understand that concept of nothing good happens after midnight, man.
That's true.
And, you know, if you're at home, you know, well, it's a good time. It's fun being out at 2 o'clock in the morning. You can do the same shit at 2 o'clock in the morning as you can at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's plenty of things to find joy out there that you don't have to do at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I promise you, the shit you're doing at 2 o'clock in the morning isn't great. By the way, speaking of things that you do at 2 o'clock in the morning that aren't great, we'll wrap the show up here. But they have now made a Megan Hall porno film.
Oh,
where it's a girl that looks like Megan Hall, and she comes in to give a guy a felony, and she's going to need backup, and a gangbang ensues. So for the person in the live chats, I don't even remember which guy it was that's in our Instagram. Thank you for sending me that video. Thank you for sending me that video. I laughed hysterically, and may or may not have gotten hard while watching it. So it was for research, right? It's not.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see that. So please don't send that to drewbreasy@gmail.com.
Please. Or his Instagram handle @DrewBreasy, or his Facebook, or his private account, which is Andrew Bates
Susan B. Empathy@gmail.com.
I don't want to see that at all tonight. Well, I just got 2 fresh candles and a new bottle of lotion.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I think it was Sarah Kelch that sent me like a whole bunch of like shampoos and stuff. Like just a box. Was it you, Sarah Kelch, that sent me all that shit, or who was it? Somebody sent me a box of like lotions and shampoos and all this stuff, and I've always thought it was really funny. But everywhere I look in my office, there is of like the shit that they put in that box, and so people are like, "Man, do you just like really like hand lotion a lot?" Like, and I'm like, "No, man, it's like somebody gave me like 15 fucking bottles. I didn't know where to put it, so I just got it everywhere."
Oh, the longer the hair, the more shampoo you're going to use. Let's be real.
So, because I was running out of places to put it, so like each toilet has hand lotion on it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You know, and I was like, you know, it wasn't until about a week or so ago when somebody brought it up that now I think about it. I'm like, yeah, it probably does look weird that I have lotion in my bathroom, in my guest bathroom. People are coming in like,
yeah, to compound things, you only had one hand for about 6 weeks. So, you know, your hand lotion usage cut in
I had
half.
3 hands. I have a wife. I had 3 hands.
That's true.
Oh, Sarah Kell says it was soap and sanitizer, wipes, and body wash. Well, that's why it burns.
She's trying to tell you something, to be honest.
That looked like lotion. No, it's good stuff though. My wife fucking loves it, dude. That body wash, she uses it all the time. It smells awesome. So, anyway, guys, thank you for this for Eric Tansey, Drew Breasy, and Susan B. Empathy, and all the people in the chats. This has been another Failure to Stop Breakdown. Until next time, boys and gals, guns up, giddy up,
goo goo.